And I always have to do this 3 or 4 times. Hello. Who do I have to kill to get a sound person? You want me? We go up there? Yeah. You know what? Hello. Microphone. Pretty quiet.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Better if it, oh, no.
Hey, look at that.
There we go. That sounds a little better, right? No doubt. All right. Well, let's start the show. I'm super unprepared. See you later. All right. I wanted to read. Oh, well, I always ask, did anybody happen to bring a poem from someone we might not have heard? So do you have like a book of poetry with you? Sometimes people do. Okay. So that's fine.
I have one.
You do?
Yeah.
Come on up and read a poem from someone we might not have heard. Okay, so, all right, we'll start this way. My name is Tony Plocido, and I am your host this evening. Welcome to Poets and Pints number 79. Woo! Yeah. We've been going strong for almost 7 years. So it's 7 years in February, just to let you know. So right now we're on episode 79, I like to call it. And tonight we were going to have 4 poets tonight, but unfortunately one of them was going to come from Alexandria, and with the winds possibly picking up, he just didn't want to make the drive. So that was Lewis Mundt, and we'll have him on in the near future. So just know that you will get to see him. If you came to see him, I'm sorry. He did put out a thing that he wasn't going to be able to make it. But typically the way we like to start the show is to say that we are a part of Cracked Walnut, which is a local chapter of the League of Minnesota Poets, which means we're a nonprofit. And through that, we like to help the community grow poetry. And that's why this show, we don't play gatekeeper. Basically, if you sign up for this show, we get you on the stage at some point. And if you're curious how to do that, there are cards on the table. On the back of those cards, we'll tell you how to fill out a survey, and we'll get you on the show sometime in the near future. It's pretty simple. So, David, you said you had something to read? Come on up. So I like to start the show with a poem from a poet you might not have heard. So David's got one of those. This is David Bayless, everybody. He's one of the founders of this show.
Thanks, Louie. Okay, this is a shape poem. So you can see the shape. And it is called the Six Cornered Snowflake. And this is, I found this poem just simply because I was teaching a course on winter poetry last year. And I wanted to find a shape poem for it. So I found it. And holy shit, this thing is like deep. Really, really deep. It has to do with Leibniz and a book that he gave to his lover, which was a proof of why all snowflakes have to be six-sided. That there are no, something about the strength of the structure. There are no octagon-shaped snowflakes. And it also is a thing about the Cold War. The poet is John Frederick Nims, and he was the director for a long time of the Poetry Foundation, I found out. So,
Nice.
the snows curlicue in slow pendulous pavon, half lured to heaven, yet until they too concede to earth, drift in a crew on rugged roofs like plowlands, pitched at odds akimbo, a mottled lavender jumble of old gold corrugated tile lofting its crown of thorny towers over Prague, still Gothic, 1610. Prague not yet voluted with Baroque aspiring still. See, many steepled tin, T-Y-N, it's church. Church spire on spire like missiles packed, all zeroed in on heaven. Zigzag streets, crevicing seesaw gables, all around 10.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna go with you first. So, please don't feedback, thank you. All right, so our first poet this evening is someone who signed up a while ago, and I apologize, it took me this long to get you on the stage. But Patrick Cabello Hansel is the author of the poetry collections The Devouring Land on Meg Street Publishing and Quitting Time from Atmosphere Press. He has published poems and prose in over 75 journals, including Chronic, Illnot Review, Hawaii Pacific Review, Ash and Bones, River Sedge, and Lunch Ticket. Twice nominated for the Pushcart Prize, he has won awards from the Loft Literary Center and the Minnesota State Arts Board. His novella Searching was serialized into 33 issues of the Alley News. He's the editor of the Phoenix of Phillips, a literary journal by and for the most diverse community in Minneapolis. His website is artcabellohansel.com. Everybody, please welcome Patrick Cabello Hansel.
Thank you. It's really good to be here. Oh, that is bright, isn't it? I'm going to read from both of the books, and they are available over there for sale if you're interested. I want to tell you first about this book. The photograph here was taken by, she was 13 or 14 there. She's a dreamer. She crossed the border when she was 8 months old. And in May, she's going to be the first of her family to graduate from college. And there's a lot of poems about immigration here, and I'm going to read a couple of them. And actually, there's quite a few that it's interesting refer to Christmas time or winter. So this is called the crossing season, and the towns here are the towns in Mexico and Sonora Desert, south of Arizona, where people gather before they come across. Sonora sleeps easier when the womb that is December cracks open. At dusk, they load 15 to a van, 20 armed with backpacks, dollars, phone numbers, and enough water for 1/5 of the journey, the first fruits of their deliverance. The caravan trips northward from Cananea to Magdalena to Santa Ana, headlights off, prayer filling the back with fumes, as the pole star scales the firmament's cold breast to sting the nipple with its metallic kiss. Dark must beget dark for stars to speak. At the border, midnight snores, sentries prowl, the lights of Tucson and Las Vegas stream like an angel choir. The travelers cross themselves, make a vow to the Virgin, check their pockets, then scurry across the dark amniotic sea that once covered this desert with Cenobites, Caimans, and doubts. They walk on the edge of all things, night, nation, motherhood, death. Water will break and sand will not forgive. Wind is a country, a people, a word. Night after night, the pilgrims penetrate the thin skin of the continent. They sleep among the creosote bushes, evade the long eyes of Minutemen and La Migra, wear out God's ear with songs. They hide in culverts, cemeteries, McDonald's, pick fruit, clean toilets, lay sod, then marry and are given in marriage, watch their children grow strange tongues, get barked at in the chambers of power, keep walking, keep watching for a new sun to rise above the saguaros. Under the earth, midwives call out to the bones of the ancestors, be born. Thank you. I retired last year after serving 35 years as a pastor in inner city congregations in the Bronx and Philly and here in Phillips. And we did a production at Christmas time called La Natividad Within the Heart of the Beast up in the Mass Theater, which was a production of the Christmas story told where the audience actually walked through Lake Street up to the church and told from the point of view of an immigrant family in the neighborhood. And the first baby Jesus just turned 15. So, and then his dad had to self-deport because he was caught by immigration. So this poem is called Baby Jesus' Dad Got Deported for D. He wasn't old, he wasn't wrong, he wasn't slick, he was just there. He was there riding a train, he was there grilling a steak, he was there picking up trash, he was there lying next to his wife, the moonlight soft, the whisper slow. Baby Jesus' dad got deported. We saw him off at the airport. Forehead blessings, tears, promises of return. There isn't much you can say to the baby Jesus when the baby knows it all. The nation will survive without baby Jesus' dad. The steak will be a bit overdone. The reading and math a bit slow. The nighttime drops of liquid moon will float and flee before the dawn. Baby Jesus' dad got deported. He took his shoes off. He emptied his pockets into the plastic tub. He raised his arms for the magic wand. He squeezed himself into the air. Wave goodbye, baby Jesus. Wave until your arm grows thorns. The first call that I had was in the South Bronx, and the second section of this book is about stuff in the inner city, and there was an auto mechanic that all the pastors went to, and if you saw this place, it was on this dead end street in the South Bronx, and it was the dirtiest, most rundown place you can imagine. But it was the greatest mechanic that I've ever met. So this is in honor of Frank. This is called Frank's Auto Repair. The dirtiest damn dog in the South Bronx lies in front of the best damn mechanic in the South Bronx. All the pastors go there, the dry drunk, the sex addict, the one whose church is about to crucify him, the one who can't stop throwing up at the altar during her first trimester. They all know Frank, and Frank does right by them. The dog lies right in the driveway you pull your piece of shit car into. Every bit of grease that was splashed around yesterday has landed on his coat. He takes no more breaths than are absolutely necessary. He is dirt and bereavement and luck rolled into one body. The dirtiest damn dog doesn't complain when you pull in, doesn't snap or refuse to move. He takes his time getting to his feet, shedding off the air that has coagulated around the dirt, that has coagulated upon the grease upon his coat, turns and walks to a corner and lies down again. Frank always asks, what do we have now? He takes the key and he writes your number on a scrap of a big calendar 2 years old and tells you he'll call you. If he can't fix it, it's on the house. I asked him once if the dog had a name, and he told me that it did, but for the life of me, he couldn't remember what it was. Thank you. And this book, Quitting Time, is an extended elegy to my father, Walter, who was born in 1912 in an immigrant family in North Dakota. He only spoke German until the day that he went to kindergarten. and had the misfortune of going in 1917 when we were at war in World War I. And the teacher said, if you speak the enemy's language, I will hit you with this stick. And then served in World War II, including in the conquest of Germany and the occupation where his native tongue came in handy. So like most men of his generation, he didn't really talk about the war. And I have two brothers and a sister, and he told some stories only to me and some only to other people, other siblings. So this is a story that he told to me. It's called Falling. A man hung from his parachute like a seed, softly whirligigging down, shouting, "Don't shoot, I surrender." And the tongue of the enemy, your first tongue. He had no way to reach for his weapon, but the men under you did, and in a minute, though your voice was raised and your rank commanded obedience, it was the county fair in Shreveport, in Pembina, in New Ulm, in New Prague. Step right up, everyone wins a prize. The lights flashing, the girls all giggles and bullets, and a ribbon for the man who hits the nose. Then silence. The head of the boy on his chest, his body limp in its harness, gravity doing its work. The son of German cousins, perhaps the grandson of your grandfather's friend, spoiled blood over his uniform. Father, why did you tell me this story and not my brother's? Your memories are like your hands, big, calloused, open. His boots, newly shined, pulled him down to the earth he finally met as a shroud, a nothing, a home. Your men did not speak. They held their rifles across their chest as if burying sick children. You can imagine, imagine that he can't stop the men under him from shooting, someone who was surrendering. I grew up in Austin, Minnesota, and my father was a barber there, which is not why I have this. But actually, I had it as soon as I left home. I had short hair for a long time. My wife cut my hair forever, and then she broke her wrist one winter, and I said, I'm going to grow it out again. So this is called cutting away. He was also very active in his church as a layperson, kind of as a person who didn't judge others. So cutting away. It was a small shop, one barber chair, one barber, 3 magazines in front of the plate glass windows. True, Field and Stream, America. The middle son washed the windows every week. The men who sat worked at the plant, drove truck, drilled a few teeth, sold quality suits, used cars and cuts of meat, painted houses, stole. You can learn a lot by holding a man's head in one hand and a razor in another. The sins dripped out of the stories they told like honey. Most were used to a kind of confession in darkness, a voice a foot away, words of repentance as far away as the setting sun is from its rising. Transgressions were not erased as much as shaved down by prayers mumbled in the back pew. But here at Walt's barbershop, each hair and the trespasses it pulled at fell like pigeon feathers to the floor, like rain, like wafers sprinkled in coriander. No bloodletting in this 20th of centuries, no guarding of anger forever. The hairs, like our sins, were not held against us, but swept away at the end of the day, the brown and red and gold alike. We were not saved by the pain of our cutting, but by its graceful release. All that was needed was faith, simple, humble, kind, like the seed of the mustard, or the gel that made the front of a crew cut stand up straight, a blessing that drew the eye only towards the newly made face. How am I doing time?
You got about 3 minutes left.
Okay, so I'm gonna read a couple new ones, and this is my new collection. I'm seeking a publisher. I'm gonna read the title poem first. It's called "Breathing in Minneapolis." So, this is last year. We live a couple blocks off Lake Street. not far from where George Floyd was murdered, and as you know, and our church is 2 blocks from there. And it was a really tense time with everything that was going on, with the fires and the police harassment and everything else. So this is called Breathing in Minneapolis. Every night, choppers grate the air into fire. Every few minutes, a siren lashes flesh to the mast of wooden ships by the whip, by the chain, by the necks of fallen men. We mask ourselves to protect others from the viral hunter, singed cloth over humid skin, eyes seeking heaven's burnt hand, mouths mouthing prayers to the hidden smoke. Why would breath have a price tag? Why must flesh be sentenced to ash? In the metal madness, in the lip tuned to righteous sneer, in the snake watching over all, hands are lifted up, names sung over and over, skin shook over the ground. Wake, children, wake, ancestors, wake, silence, the wind beckons. Thank you. I'm reading one more. I started writing, people asked me what got me writing poetry, and I actually started my senior year in college with the first true love of my life dumped me. Now, that was the reason. Poetry has been good to me ever since. But I never wrote about that until this year. I was living in Northfield, St. Olaf, and was living above right above where the malting mill plant was, and they shot the puffed wheat out of these guns in early in the morning, at like 5 and fall down to be puffed. And so I spent a lot of time just standing out in the winter and listening. The winter my first love left me, but did not leave the town we shared. I lived just up the hill from the railroad tracks and the malting mill plant. Midnight to 3 were chosen hours of prayer. The whistle of a long freight heading south with corn or coal. The switchyard where tomorrow's boxcars were hitched to engines by men with lanterns. The sound of cannons as the puffed wheat or rice was shot from the fifth floor and fell into air as air curled into each kernel. Snow muffled all, and breath was all I spoke. Breath warmed by the blood transporting through my lungs. Some vessels bringing oxygen into flesh, others offering carbon to the part of the sky we overlook, the part that rises a foot or two from our mouths, then disappears. In winter, we can see our breath. In all seasons, we must trust it. Praise rises, but so does grief. One is not ashamed of the other. That winter, snow became my counsel. Tracks heading somewhere, beauty cold, deep, unspeakable, alive. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It can be a doozy. One more time for Patrick Cabello Hansel. Yeah. All right. So we do this here every third Wednesday. The next one is the 19th of January, just so you know. And then February, we're going to have another Black History Month show that Joe Davis is putting together. So it's going to be, I'm very excited for that one. And then March is going to be curated by Bill Anderson over here. And then April's going to be National Poetry Month. So we always try to do something crazy for that. As crazy as poetry gets, like you know, keep your expectations. You know. All right, so moving on to our next person here, who is Lora Robinson. She wrote this. I don't want you to think I'm taking credit for all this stuff. I am originally from the eastern shore of Maryland and split time between my home state and Minneapolis. I just moved to Minnesota in February, so last February, I assume, not the future. And I'm excited to connect with a new group of writers and creatives. I am going back to school for nursing, and I work as a technical writer. I've been published in numerous magazines and journals, and my first book is due out this year with Akinoga Press. I am also an author on the Interloop's inaugural Authors Corner circuit and will be the featured reader to open up their 2022 reading series season. I will also be attending my first artist residency this fall at Art Farm, Nebraska. In my spare time, I enjoy reading, interior design, cooking, singing to my cats, fishing, and hiking. Everybody, please put your hands together for Lora Robinson. Make sure this is all right for you.
Thanks.
Once you get up there. I don't know how tall you were because you were sitting down when I got here.
From a German family, so I'm one of the shortest women, actually.
Yeah, that's about as high as it
Thumbs
goes.
up.
And it might go a little higher, but it might not. Yeah, good.
Okay.
Excellent.
So, hey guys, I would have rewritten that bio, but it's gonna be in first person. Okay. Hi, I'm Lora. I'm going to, hi. I'm going to be reading mostly from my first book, which comes out actually next year, with Akinoga Press. It's a small press based in Baltimore. It's a small press based in Baltimore. It's run by Michael Zuloff, who's an amazing human and an even better writer. My book explores the dispossession of body and self during and in the aftermath of trauma, the grief and reconciliation that's born from the separation, and the ultimate return to yourself with the understanding and acceptance that you may come home to a new and different self. And that's pretty groovy. So, we're going to keep it light. Okay. This is called Ruby Throat. When you are the only light on the highway, I hope you feel my spindle fingers twisted in your curls. Remember spiders on your neck, weaving wicked tapestries, my voice crackling like our pipes in winter. On the coldest nights, count your fingers, tide your breath. Do you remember milk and honey, naked and spread over crimson sheets, frayed nails dredging the base of your back, nicotine stained and brackish, because I could not bear another night drunk and alone. Read my poems, hung on the walls like epitaphs. Board up the windows and doors, build a mausoleum, and visit when you need to remember a jeweled Hummer fluttering on your porch and feeding sunsets, fireflies beating on glass and wood. Remember the days you forgot to feed the wilting orchids, how you let them die. This poem's title is also the first line, so we're just going to type in. Lost in the back hollow of God's country, you're 10, sitting on a creek bank, holding a pretty bird too closely. Ball your fists when her neck slumps, rattle the carcass, and curse the callous sunglow. You were 20 years removed from gliding metals and taxidermy mantles. A hunting lodge is the family home. Somewhere in the shadows, where all the blue jays are broken and happiness sleeps under your pillow. Come, see the flushing planks and rotting roof. Behold the beauty of the death you wrought. So I forgot my note that I wrote on this. This poem and the next two serve as like an origin story for the subject of my book. So it was a process of learning to humanize this person that I wrote about. So. Homeostasis. You have carved your wanting out of what cannot be melted, of what cannot be exchanged. To love is to vacate, to over-engineer. Your silence is a carcass, sun-bleached bones on an empty beach, a rack to be mounted. Murals. Motherless vinegar, you know your history. Machines for suffering, Picasso. Bare-knuckle portraits you paint in the bedroom. Tongue-bitten, spit-drunk and flailing, metallic tannins alive with the novelty of your own violence. She tips the bourbon down the drain, double-barreled, melting joints, your own blood-shattering hot glass. The loneliness you laid on her pillow, the sulky girls who never knew your name, spinal shrapnel scarred over and splintering, years of it swallowing you whole. All the beautiful fires she set in the kitchen, all the ashes of things held closer than you. So the tone kind of shifts to the next few. It's while my speaker's kind of sussing out the stages between anger and bargaining. So, a prayer for the plaster cloud cover. Blessed be the scrimshaw of my breastbone, the shivers in my spine, sharks feeding on my marrow. Holy be the turpentine rain thinning the walls, the scythe of his body, warm blade in my bed. This one's called Drastic, or I'm sorry, but I have to kill you now. I want to give a special shout out to my poetry workshop crew, Arian, Matt, and of course Kira. Two of you found this funny, which I think is funny because, well, yes. He keeps finding me in hallways and bars, shitty cocktails and pinball machines, my heart punched out and cycloning through city streets, sickly sweet and not nearly drunk enough. I never made him a key or left a forwarding address, but somehow he is still in the light bulb at the basement of my first house. I smell his damp water damage. And if he keeps this up, I'll have to do something drastic. Not hot pink hair drastic, not overtip the cab driver because it's the third time he's taken me home this week drastic, but stalk your prey, scratched off serial numbers, hot metal on a cold morning drastic, like strictly hypothetically, of course, drastic, like kill my darling similes, like the way only sins are committed and charity is donated. Like the only way I'm getting out of here is through the hole I've yet to dig. Okay. I can tell you the ending now that it's finally over. I can't tell you how many times I powdered the honey yellow edges of the bruise of my face, how many times I broke open a synovial and egg white geyser. I walked around in the world like a scab ripe for picking, wanting to rip myself clean, and still leaving small red dots in jersey sheets. Some days when I sleep enough, drink water, smile, you can barely see my shiny pinks. You can't count how many times I've been separated from myself, or how often I found the blood under my own nails. This is not punishment. This is not reclamation. I want to see the basal membranes, the blood rings, the barrier zones. I need to know that I can still grow back. The last two, my speaker has sort of moved into the acceptance and processing phase of all of this, so it's going to be a little more uplifting, hopefully. This is called The Return of Spring. Maybe one day I will stop smoking, put down the Shiraz, stop raising every man who ever cried beautiful to my lips. Maybe then I'll reach into the cedar chest and rattle you loose, stop reaching for you like a favorite jacket, and you can tell me about the others. How I was not first choice, but the last standing, and isn't that what really matters? Because don't we love survivors the most? Maybe one day I will learn to swim, break the levees in your skull, spring free of this prison built with concrete hands, shed the heavy life vest, gripping and filling my lungs with floodwater thrusts in your name. Maybe one day I will leave all this behind. Stop checking for scorpions in my shoes and bleach out this natural stain. Maybe one day, when love is no longer something I have to survive, I will tell you, you were never something I wanted to get over with. I grew my hair so there was more of me to fill your hands. I spun yarn balls with poems so I could sleep under your tongue. I glued the butterfly rib cage you cracked open and rocked the spilled organs back to sleep. This is 14-year anniversary or hypothetical lunch reunion. The place, that little family diner on the corner of 30th and West 10th. The time, 2 p.m. They'll still be serving breakfast, and it's Free Pie Wednesday if you've got the stomach for it. We'll have no need for the blue across the street, but I've heard the Redeemed Church down the road stays open all night, and the sinner needs a new book to read. I'll wear white, the almost Madonna, the sacrificial whore, and you, always in red, a dusty silk rose, the bloody-mouthed town crier. The air will be thick with historicity, aqua de joe, the teeth grit of my name, painfully au fait, nearly reaching for your curls. I will scatter apologies like floor tiles, lacquered and fading, and always cracking under your heel. You are enormous, expanding the table, the leaf green of your wood knuckles. Your voice, a rosebush I'll trip into, cradling my flesh like heat, nausea, a body regrown into one you've never touched. I'm going to throw a wrench in this and end with a love poem. This final piece is a very, very early sneak peek into a project I'm working on with my good friend Kira Sheldomore. So thanks for coming tonight. Thanks for supporting local artists, even newly local like me. It matters. This is called Redacted. Indigo child, son of the morning, Apollonian smile with the fear of mortal friction. Reel me in before I splinter off the stalk. Pull me close, kiss me hard, happy, happy to die. Golden archer fish, shoot me down from this Dionysian dangle before my lips lift off. I'm looking for water on Mars. Walk me home, your rings febrile, ingrained iridescence. Hum with mine, Tiffany stained, bluing all your ambient light. Lark, gentle lark, I will pluck you. Little opalescent time traveler, turn you to cicada songs wrapped around a Southern Victorian. Slide fingers across wallpaper palms, read your eternal vines. You are everything, everything, the light of all lights. Gliding mercurial across hardwood and tile. And I, the revenant shade in your euphoric art, double irises judging me the continuum. I think I love you, you're missing from me. You, the place I was meant to find again. Sunken, bone deep marrow and oxygen. You patterned me no paper doll, just suited to my skin. Bell-flowered and sway-backed, flowing immensely cheek to cheek. The sapphire surround, the tailored tongue, my favorite courtier, you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I thought it'd be funny if you came up here and go, this last one's called Redacted, and then just went. You can use that if you want. Lisasia. Nice. I guessed at that. I got it right. People get my name wrong all the time. Not Tony. I mean, my real name. Okay. Anyway, Lisasia Wild is an endlessly curious artist, community architect, and poet, which is why she's here, who dives deeply into the vulnerable and taboo, believing that our deepest liberation lies within those waters. Lisasia's body of work can be best described with words like bones, sensuality, dirt, and love. Everybody, please put your hands together for Lisasia Wild.
Or come up the hard way.
Yeah. Took me a few minutes.
Too tall? That's probably the right height, though, if you're gonna sit. And let me just adjust this for you once you sit.
Takes like 2 or 3 people.
This is my job that I don't get paid for.
So my name is Lisasia. I am a funeral celebrant.
an advocate and an artist, and I'm so glad to get on stage and share my poetry whenever I can, because I feel like all those parts of myself get to come together and be witnessed. So you're probably gonna see a little bit of that funeral celebrity in there. I talk about death and sex, and I mentioned mangoes a couple times because I love them so much. I have a mango tattoo on my arm. This morning or earlier in the day, a childhood friend of mine passed away, and so I would like to dedicate these poems, or my portion of the show, to Erin. Yeah. Icy waters soften over springtime sand. The closing of winter's death ritual collides with birthing time. Like a grandfather's big hand wrapped around his grandbaby's little thumb. This place called to me, where the end meets the beginning. I tried to run, bargain, sparkle, fuck, tried to love and pour and love and love and love. Tried to be better, bleed more, bleed less. But death wanted to meet me like warm sand meets the cold water's edge. So I walked into the brush looking for a place to lie down, like a bear slipping into dream time. Or maybe like a cat looking for a place to birth. The Aztec said that a mother who gives her life to her child will go to the same heaven as any warrior who gives his life to defend. The animals hear my sound. My breath deepens as each motion of my hips deepen. I inhale until I'm so full that my bones crack and my grandmother sighs, and for a moment I feel just as wise as she is. Put your blood into the garden, she says. You are as fertile as the soil. Tension turns to thunder and they sing for me, the birds, the bear, the water's edge and the sky. They roar and hum and crack and croon in symphony. I heave. Fire and wind raptures me. Your voice was made to heal you, says grandmother's voice carried by the wind. So I copy the sounds of my forest king, resurrecting wild from my gut. I heave again. And I remember who I am. What holds you? Where does your mother's unresolved pain live in your body? Which vines did you pick to dress the wounds? How tightly did you tie them? Which herbs did you put beneath the vines? What phase was the moon in? Did you spread yourself across the earth? Did you bury yourself? Did you bathe in honey? Did you call it a baptism? Did you cry long enough to mistake your voice for your grandmother's? Did you sing long enough to mistake your voice for your grandmother's? Did you braid your hair? Did you shave your head? Did you find your rage? Did you seethe? Did you gather matchsticks and kerosene? Did you spit hot embers from your mouth? Though I stepped into many rooms alone, you had been there, burning sage for me before I arrived. Did you feel joyful too, after you wept and spread your bones across the floor and counted them, then gathered them, then stepped out of that room and into the rain, washing salt and ash from your tired face? Oh, show me the shadows within your becoming, how you crawled to the belly of the earth to rest beneath time and bedrock, how you were so certain that you'd find a place to rest so deeply it would touch the wounds of your ancestors. Tell me how sweet the sounds were there, echoing through your chest like caves becoming of your buried rib cage, when each thing you learned to think about yourself fell away, as your skin turned to dirt and you heard your own song. Did it feel like coming home? Thank you, Mason.
Yeah.
This next poem is called Death Cafe, and some of you might have heard of that. It's a gathering that happens kind of all over the country where people get together to talk about death and our attitudes around death and how death relates to our culture. And so this poem was inspired by a real life event that happened at one of these death cafes. Life's full of contradiction. Roses have long time been a symbol of both love and death. But what the hell does death have to do with falling in love? Maybe their likeness lies in the way grief can pull you. In the same way love will have you feeling like you're falling hopelessly. Where is my beloved? Life's full of irony too, like walking into a death cafe and sitting down to talk about, well, death, when a woman says, I don't really know what I'm doing here. In fact, this feels like a cult, but one time my friend's brother blew his brains out, so we took a piece of his brain and we put it in the freezer. As she looks around nervously, as if death itself may emerge from the walls where we sit in this art gallery, as if art doesn't come from the same place everything we've ever known goes to die. Completely ironic, really. How we come to know the depth of our love at the hour of separation. Grief tears me open. But eventually love rushes back in, richer, more vivid, and fuller than before. La Petite Mort. That's French for a small death. But you see, we're talking about sex where breath chases breath, where inhibition breaks, bowing to chaos before chaos bows to calm, seizing, then delivering me each time I burst like a cloud, and my wetness waters my lovers like raindrops kissing grass. I am exonerated, liberated of flesh. I am propelled at the speed of light into the deep dark to a place where not a single atom vibrates. I am surrendered to a small death. My thoughts settled like clinking plates return to the cupboard as the dinner guests wipe the carnage from their faces. Thank you. This poem is called The Robot Dies. Love is not on my list of things that would be nice to have. Love is on my list of things to find before the apocalypse. How many of you have come to see the robot die? I can't tell if I'm dying or being born half the time. I could take the mask off over and over for 1,000 days and still find a new face beneath the joker, the jester, the child, the master, the face of war, the virgin, and the whore. But the robot has one face, calculated and stoic, opposite and opposing the poet, as surreal as the expression of life it seeks to package, condense, quantify, eliminate. I'm fascinated by the idea of it, or should I say the cold hard steel of it in all of its purpose, so thoughtfully coded by its creator, so proud to produce and maintain and squeeze and constrict and package life so neatly somehow, like laughter in a box, muted by cardboard. The robot does not love the clouds, does not sway its hips to sweet, sultry sounds, does not find God in the mango. The robot cuts wild vines before the sun loves them until they are strong enough to do nature's work, wrapping themselves around steel and reclaiming entire cities, turning robots to relics, turning robots to folklore about what happened when love was found just in time for the apocalypse, when grandmothers were kept by children, when nurses quit because of the mandates, so they closed the delivery ward, and more babies were caught by hands close to home, by kin familiar with the magic in their bones. When the world kept shifting like an old house losing floorboards, clicking with each inhale like a wolf with scoliosis, a wolf who shows its teeth to warn of the threat of a mother's bite, snarling and clicking with grief behind her eyes, and she was ready to honor it because she knew real love. Real love. That quiets the questions and calms what the mind desperately wants to quantify so that we can live the questions instead. I'm sure if the robot could, he'd ask what it's like to be born. Does it feel like coming home or leaving? What would it be like if they sang for us at both gates? We're so glad you've gone. We're so glad you've come. Don't forget to say thank you to the sun and remember where you come from. Kiss your grandmother's hands, hold your lover's face, and never, ever forget the good you've done. Rest in peace to the robot who showed up when we were scared because we believed he was our most dependable friend. Every teacher is an angel in the end. Thank you. This is going to be my last poem, and it's called Mangoes. The three women that I mentioned in this poem were women who came upon my path in real life. So many times I've been returned to myself as I heard my name, spoken something like a song that reminds me of what it's like to eat a mango. Once I climbed a hilltop, rising with the sun, and a woman I did not know waited for me there. It's so beautiful, I whispered. She looked at me, the moon who had just departed from the sky resting in her ancient eyes, and she said, all the beauty you could ever witness in this world also lives inside you. Each planet, a child's laughter, the ocean's most enchanting blue. Once I was given a letter from a woman I did not know. Inside was a Naira Wahid poem. Do not choose the lesser life. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Choose the life that is yours, the life that is seducing your lungs, that is dripping down your chin. And I keep that poem in my wallet. Or maybe you could say it keeps me. Once I walked into a laundromat in Mexico. There stood a woman I did not know, tenderly folding my clothes. She smiled with a familiar moon in her eyes, or maybe it was in her cheeks. We couldn't understand each other, but somehow she explained to me how to be sure to get my clothes clean. Somehow she placed care and wisdom I'll remember forever between each fold. Somehow I could feel her smile healing me. Somehow that very simple moment changed my heart. Just a little sweetness that reminded me of what it's like to eat a mango. You can find me at therevolvingaltar.com. And the last thing I'd like to say is that I think the world becomes a better place when we find the thing that we love and we do it a lot. So, thank you.
Okay. All right. So, how's it going, everybody? One more time for Lisasia. We're going to go to break here for just a 10, 15-minute break. But I want to remind you that there are some books for sale at the table over there. Patrick brought in 2 books here, the Devouring Land and Quitting Time. So you'll want to talk directly to Patrick if you're interested in getting either one of his books. And I'm going to show him one more time to the camera. All right. And then shameless plug for myself. I got 2 of my books here as well. So if you're interested in the work that I do, this is book 2 and book 3 of my 4 books that I put out. So these are available as well, and you just talk to me. Last thing I'll say is this is a free show, so you are not obligated to put anything in here. But if you'd like to, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We do use this money to help this show as well as other programs that we work on with the League of Minnesota Poets. So if you want to dump some money before the end of the year so you can write it off on your taxes or whatever, just throw it in this box. That would be great. Otherwise, we'll see you in about 15 minutes. damn it. Damn it all that help. Why can't I ever remember anything? Yeah. Hello. Whoa. Hello, everybody. I'll turn this down in just 1 second. Okay, so now we move into our open mic portion of the evening. Now, I always do this random, and because we had a feature that had to drop out tonight, we're gonna have a little extra time, so I'm gonna do the people that signed up first, but then if we get done, I'll say, does anybody else wanna go? So for right now, Allie, why don't you give me number 1 through 6?
3.
3 is Bill.
Woo, go Bill!
We'll try this.
Thanks.
You want me to pick the phone?
Sorry about the delay, I needed to pick some. So much to choose from. This is a persona poem that was inspired by something I saw driving to work recently. How much humiliation must one dog withstand? First, you move me to a small yard in the suburbs. I am a hunter. I should be roaming the woods and plains. Then you surround it with an invisible barrier that hurts when I cross it. Second, you remove my testicles. That hurt too. I miss them. At least they don't get zapped when I cross your invisible barrier. That electronic torture device that should be fastened around those small and meaningless testicles that you are so fond of and will never be able to lick. Third, you dress me in costumes. A giant hot dog, a horse being ridden by a monkey, a dragon, a slice of watermelon, a taco, a superhero cat. Not a superhero sidekick, but a cat. No cat can be a superhero or any kind of hero. Fourth, you name me Jasper, the nickname given to you by a friend in grade school. Jasper makes me wonder if he really was a friend. If you were an intelligent animal, if you cared, you'd know I am Shazmo Aloysius Melvin, scourge of cats, harasser of squirrels, chaser of birds, tormentor of sleeping children, conqueror of the sofa, soiler of the carpet, destroyer of all things left lying about, supreme leader of the hairballs, residing everywhere in my fortress, where you are allowed to live, peasant. It is appropriate you carry my wastes in plastic bags, as I parade you around the neighborhood, displaying to all creatures that I have a human. But now for the final humiliation, you put me in a cone, a plastic funnel, to protect me, you say. And I ask, who is protecting me from you? Who is protecting you from me in the middle of the night? And it gets worse. The cone is festooned with butterflies and flowers. I eat butterflies. I piss on flowers just before you put your nose to them. And you make me wear a cone for all dogs and that feline hellspawn next door to see. You believe me to be a happy dog. That is just my face. Beneath it waits the truth. I cannot see to the left or to the right, but I can see you, and your time is coming. If you had a cone on your head, you'd see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Ashley, 1 through 5.
4.
Peak riches, everybody.
The air is heavy today, like a thick fog that I must wade through. It's a sunny day and warm, but it feels cold and hazy, heavy, like I'm weighed down, my mind won't move, my feet are planted, my eyes have a film, playing, tricking, hiding, dust from the desert, oil from a spill, blocked in concrete. The air is heavy today. So much is happening rather quick and decisions are being made, and yet no decisions are decided and nothing is happening at all. It's the journey that ended and the journey that just began. It's the changing of the guards, a moment of standstill, the moment after a rifle has been shot before the deer has been hit. Heavy, as unpalatable, full of feeling, yet full of nothing at all. A container with no boundaries. The air is heavy.
Let's see.
Rib shot.
Kayla, 1 through 4.
1.
David. One more time to the stage, David Bayless. Why does everybody go up the hard way?
Thank you.
It's a comedy club.
It is a comedy club.
It's this direction. That way you have to walk around.
Oh, no.
I already got my steps in today, so let's do that. Yeah, I was trying to decide, and it's now downpouring outside, so I'm certainly not gonna read a poem that I wrote about snow, so. This is another persona poem. I was gonna read it because Lewis is one of my favorite people, but he's not here, but he writes humorous stuff a lot of times. So this would be what I would read for him. Little preface to it too. There's a commercial about safe driver discount type stuff, you know, and somebody moving really, really slow because they didn't want to risk their discount. So this is called The Goldfish on the Car. I am the goldfish in the fishbowl on the top of that car. You know the one, an insurance commercial, something about safe driver discount. I'm sure you thought, as everyone else did, how did they do that? Sticky tape? Ticky-tack? Surely something, right? Once I left my coffee on top of the car, and as I strapped my kid in on the way to school, I started to drive off, and within seconds, the black stream just flowed across my windshield. And now I'm just a goldfish in a bowl on the roof of a car. So yeah. Now, the thing you should be asking, the thing that you should find fascinating is what it would be like to be me, the fish on the top of the car. Viewing the wider world as it zooms by, all seen through a fishbowl, an actual fish eye lens. Imagine if you were a store-bought fish, and suddenly the whole of your world, stable, predictable, feeding at regular intervals, the same food every day, maybe the occasional weird face peering in, is spun around and around. Quite literally, the world suddenly races by. You are impossibly fastened to the roof of a car, and while it may be moving at only the legal limit, that is far faster than you have ever gone. And centrifugal force will have its way. Multicolored houses, block after block, pass by. Cars, moving or still, seem to zoom past. Bright streaks just flashing by like nothing you've ever experienced or seen, literally. Do fish vomit? I'd expect you're about to find out soon. And it's not pretty. Vomit is never pretty. On that, I think all species can agree, especially if you then have to swim in it. And thank God this isn't San Francisco. Thank you.
Jacob, 1 through 3. Give me number 2. Quattro.
Yeah. I'll make the long way around. There you go. Hurry it up though. Aha. Well, I can do that. Good evening, everybody. How are you? Fantastic. So I like to usually come prepared to perform, but I read this on my way, or right before I came in. It's started from a prompt with Bill at our last League of Minnesota Poets gathering from a line he just happened to say in passing, which was stepping on my shoelaces and tripping over myself. And so we made a bet that, just to see what we could do with it. And again, this is my second time reading it since I wrote it, so you're gonna have to, if it sucks, well, then you get to make fun of me. That'll be all right. I won't mind. Stepping on my shoelaces, tripping over myself, I looked down at my shoes and asked, why the laces? I heard somewhere that hands are for shaking and not tying, which has me wondering, I'm wondering why. And I'm staring at my shoes, as in real life, the worlds move all around me. And with me in public for all to see, I look the fool. Standing still, staring at my shoes, and tripping over myself. I wouldn't even want to mind it because you have to fall. You have to fall to pick yourself up for the first time. There's a power in deciding to get up and go, but that decision can only be made from the stillness of the floor. Part 2. Tripping over myself, I decide while tripping, I will always love myself, and I'm not fucking sorry for it. Because I know the in myself, and that's how I see it in you, Brother Mir. I acknowledge and salute the divinity within you. I'd simply say namaste, but medias these days have made that word seem kind of cheesy and hokey. Part 3. I'm over myself now. I only need meditation, and when you is myself, in my heart, in loving life, loving you is a reason to grow for anybody.
One or two. Terry.
Took the easy way, I break my neck otherwise. It's gonna take me a second to find this.
Story of my life.
Mm-hmm. I hate technology. I really suck at it. Well, since I can't find it, I'll just find this one that showed up here. It's really short, something I wrote a while ago in 2006. It's from my first chapter. I like Walt Whitman because he is a fat man. A fat poet. He is steak and potatoes, not sushi and quail eggs. He is Elvis and the Rolling Stones. He is Texas and New York, not Versace and teacups. Walt Whitman is Jack Daniels and apple pie. Walt Whitman is a red Cadillac, soldiers and fat babies. I like Walt Whitman. He is a fat man, a poet. He is Walt Whitman.
Thank you, Terry. Eric, you're up. And if you haven't been here before, usually it's one poem, 2 minutes or less.
I just want to start off by saying thanks to all the poets that went before me, helped build up some courage here. And then somebody just told me to come up here and be honest. So most people call me Eric. I also have other names: E, Jacko, Jakku, Bulldog, Halil, son, brother, dad, husband. This is 5 feet high. 5 feet high. I, standing 5 feet high, 12 summers into life, ripped jeans with a pocket knife, discovering earth in a lush prairie, kneeling at the base of a young oak. Above the blaze of grass, I carve my name. Certain it will remain, certain I will not go either. I succumb to the heated lull of summer's breeze, dozing off in the shade cast by blossomed leaves. I awake with blurry eyes, 85 winters into life, pressed slacks with a smoking pipe, standing at a frosted window, squinting at a wrinkled oak. Its roots stretch wide and split the surface. Our trunks bend and knot. Certain it will remain, certain I will not. I succumb to the frozen breath of a winter's death. My name, weathered in bark, now standing 5 feet high.
Thank you. See, it's an easy crowd to perform for. All right, who else wants to go? That's our whole list. Is there somebody else who wants to come up here? Alan?
Sure.
You know the way? You've been here a minute. Yeah, there you go.
Beautiful. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Allie Marie. This poem is Thirst. I wish I had the words to exemplify the way you would make me feel, letting their delicious melody drip from the tip of my tongue to ink blot smear turned blossoming margin doodles as I fumble to express how you find ways to quench what I had yet to begin to thirst for. But then, such is the way that time sometimes interrupts itself. I watch a chrysalis outside my window glimmer in the frost, and I cannot remember what butterflies feel like, or if I could pin down some future dream I haven't dared to venture.
Anyone else? Ashley's gonna go.
poem is called The World Before. This is not a hymn. Before the bees were dead, we prayed to a god or gods who might have heard us. We closed mouths around communion wafers, lit candles to saints, or knelt at some altar or another. The hymn to the dead has always been haunting. We loved and fought, held the hands of children, measured time by sun and moon, measured time by leaves and frost, studied the studded cloak of night. We baked bread, marveled at how yeast rises, measured love by gifts and pain by loss. We knew success was not possession. Still, we bought and sold, consumed all we could, sure there would be peace, sure there would be more. We could predict things then. When water would freeze, fish would glide along the underbelly, 6 inches of ice like glass. Birds would migrate in search of heat and light. The bees would hunker down, buzzing like a heart in winter's hive. When the ice would thaw, the chirping would return, first in pockets, then in full sheets of bird. Buzzing would spill out into the air, an explosion of gilded energy, and this was the way of things. There was always plenty, there would always be more. We said our prayers and lit candles. Who knew the sacrifices we were making?
Anyone else? All right, come on up. It's Jacob, everybody.
Oh, this is fresh and out from bullet, but it's worth trying. Drowning horses. A young artist aspires for only the love of 4-legged creatures. Draws monsters, legs thin and thick, neck grotesque. Tails of epic proportion, spine twisted and cracked. Horses and pastures so beautiful, mangled to the eyes of unpracticed hand and passion. A wanting draws them to page, dancing beast, each less wild than the last. As wild young horses are broke to domestication, the child's mind breaks the storm of innocence, walks from the woods of madness to the fields of precision. The horse is drawn for admiration, now drawn to draw the passion for beasts, now passion for feasts. Wild horses galloping across sheets of paper, more real than the fields, dancing stallions and cowboys, rearing dreams in the Middlesex mind. Lines sway across the canvas like waves with wind. A horse and carriage, gentleman's machine. A woman, elegant dress and hat, swooning at a strong man's arm. Chauffeur holds reins. A delicate scene, real or handmade. Is the man the young boy drawing horses with maid? Has the youth become master, owner of the day? Children he teaches to draw and to speak. Art they don't understand, only hearts sway, each art to keep. The kids they submit to grandfather's hand. Pictures of beasts, pictures of horses frolicking land, pictures of memories bring tears to the eye of an old tired man watching his horses play in the sun, kicking up dust. Foals learn to stand.
Anyone else? All right, then I'm gonna go. Wait,
You go first.
no, I'll go last.
Okay.
This is Kayla, everybody. She's been taking your picture all night.
Hopefully everyone's good at that.
She's a creeper.
Hi, very much. My name's Kayla. I'm an intensive care nurse. Past 2 years have been a little intense. And so I guess call this a poem of times. It's called Intensively Care, which is kind of cheesy. Okay. She was yelling at me about our visitor policy, restrictions of a pandemic, had nothing on her grief, untouchable. I sent her 8 loved ones away already, en route, only an exception for her as wife and their son. In the room, her yells flew toward the patient with a tube cutting off his speech. To give lungs oxygen, dear molecules become scarce. She told him he couldn't do this. She was too young to widow just hours before he passed. To where? Say it plainly. He died, his body stopped, nothing left. To read on the monitor. I couldn't hear the wife anymore. Where were her screams? I wanted to hear it. Within her yells, there was hope, but her trachea swelled with air, extra oxygen taken in as body's larynx deflated in her vocal cords. How does air taste? Where is loss when you can't hear it? Her world had just ended and my workday just began. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. What's your name?
Levi.
Levi is going next. 2 minutes, 1 point.
Sounds good. Hi, everybody. Didn't come to share, but I wrote one over the summer. I'm a runner, and I wrote one about morning running. And it was with the one who actually shared this place with me, encouraged me to go. So I guess I'll dedicate it to her and share that I did this. So it's called Made to Move, Created to Create. Setting out in the morning for a jog, my mind, body, and spirit are as lifted from a fog. Each step releases me from the stagnation of extended sitting, and my senses are overwhelmed as I pay attention to each in its time. I see the classic sight and sound of a bird singing its set tune. We are made to move as a bird, created to create. I hear also the sound of the wind picking up to cool the warming day. We are made to move as the wind, created to create. I smell dark oak mulch set out to landscape a set of flower beds. We are made to blossom as the flowers and share seeds of insight, created to create. I taste the saltiness of my drying, thirsty tongue as I continue forward. We are made to be salt, created to create. I feel my heartbeat increasing as my breath quickens and think about how alive this makes me feel in this moment. We are made to move and created to create.
Anybody else? Now I'll go. Okay. But I don't like microphones. Because they're annoying. Okay. So if you didn't know, or if you weren't paying attention, my name's Tony Plocido. Hi. And I have a philosophy that I understand that we are all in Minnesota, and so humility is like this thing, but I think it's stupid when it comes to art. There is no reason to be humble in art. Like if you're an artist, tout your shit, tell everybody you're awesome. It's that simple. All right. So this poem's called A Small Amount of Humility. Starts with a quote. True humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less, by C.S. Lewis. The clock is ticking. The noise should be constant. It should hit the beat every time, but it's tick, tick, tick. Then it's tick, 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 and suddenly your heartbeat no longer lines up. You feel as though you're dying by the second or the half second. It really depends on when that tick happens. But feeling death or thoughts of dying is what we do after 40. We balance whether or not this cheeseburger is worth the extra 30 minutes it's taking. It is, by the way. In my last 30 minutes, I'll be remembering all the cheeseburgers and forgotten meals consumed in front of the television. But people in life encourage humility. They tell you, be humble in sports, for it's only a game. They tell you, be humble to your family, for they're the ones who will love you whether or not you ever improve. And they tell you, be humble before God, because, I'm not really sure. And also, fuck that. When I die, I want people to be so shocked that they shut down like a soldier who developed PTSD as a child. When I die, I want there to be a service so grand that people wish they could have had an invite. When I die, I want it to create a hole so big that physics can't fill it. I want everything I've ever written to be read again to children, even the fuck words, because you can only trust people who curse. I want my stuff to have a presence on eBay, and I want a fireworks ceremony so I can scare the shit out of my cats one last time. And I want to be the character that everyone is pissed is gone next season. I want a memorial bench, so now I can support you. I know I haven't always. Look, when all we're given is this murderous teacher named time, when all we have is what we leave behind, it shouldn't surprise you that I want some immortality as much as I can get. Who's selling it? Where can I buy it? You want to be loved in life, but I want to be loved eternally. I want you to remember me smiling and then laughing so hard that I make zero noise. And I want you to remember how blue my eyes were when the sun finally came out. And I want that clock to hit the seconds like it's supposed to every single time. My heart does not like the spaces. Thank you, everybody, for coming to Poets and Pints number 79. One more time for Patrick Hansel, for Lora Robinson, for Lisasia Wild, who had to leave. I'm sorry, but still feel the energy. And for all of our poets who shared in the open mic, thank you very much for coming. Again, we will be here again on January 19th, 2022. Holy shit. And 7 o'clock, so be here. Kayla's going to be one of the features. And I completely forgot who the other three are, but they'll be here. And we will have a show. So thank you again for coming. And again, if you weren't able to donate tonight, you'd still want to donate to the League of Minnesota Poets or to us, Cracked Walnut specifically, you can go on our website, crackedwalnut.com. There's a donate button right on the front there. You can definitely donate that way too. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you next month.